Time now to take a closer look at South Korea's political crisis. Joining us is Young-Key Kim-Renaud. She's Professor Emeritus of Korean Language and Culture and International Affairs. Young-Key is also a Senior Advisor to the Institute for Korean Studies at George Washington University. Young-Key, thank you so much for coming in. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
This caught so many people off guard. It is a crisis that clearly has fueled frustration, the protest in the streets. Let's talk about how this could adversely affect investors' reactions in South Korea.
As you know, there is this Korea discount factor, and this might affect that aspect. And although it was totally unexpected, unnatural, and the people were just wondering whether it was some mistake or so. Very short-lived.
5.5 hours.
Right. So this impact might not be as big as we would have assumed, but then it all depends on how this resolves.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's a very good point. And it not only caught people in Seoul and Korea off guard, it also caught South Korea's allies off guard. Right. And you think about imposing martial law, you're talking about banning political activities and censoring the media. So what does that do to the impact on South Korea's financial markets?
Well, this is again, the only thing predictable is it's unpredictable because it all depends on how they manage the crisis. And I'm just thinking the old time when we had the IMF crisis, so-called IMF crisis, people actually got together because the problem was there was this incredible divide in Korea, and it is a kind of zero-sum game. They were not really meeting at any negotiable points, but I hope they will actually wake up. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, and there are some real bellwether, very powerful businesses within South Korea. How are they handling this? Because there is a call for President Yoon to step down, and if he doesn't, there could be consequences. So this could lead to more chaos.
I know. So I hope whatever happens should happen very fast. And I think the country is mature enough. It's a true, the whole thing probably started because the country is a vibrant democracy. And there is so much freedom of speech and everything. And then there is this traditional value of, so-called, keeping your principles.
Right.
So people think they lose face if they yield. So then compromise is like a compromise.
Yeah,
and that might also change when people realize this actually came to this crisis due to that kind of attitudes.
Better to lose face than to have economic and political chaos.
Exactly.
Now, you and many others say this needs to be handled very quickly. But what if it isn't handled quickly? Talk about the long-term effects if this drags on, if Yoon digs in his heels and doesn't want to leave, if demonstrators keep pouring into the streets, and if the financial markets become more unstable.
Well, I would hope not. But again, this really comes to people really being ready to resolve the crisis, recognize it is a crisis, instead of just sticking to your own position. Probably, I don't know, I cannot predict what will happen, but my hope is, actually I have a pretty high hope, it will be resolved very fast.
A hope and an expectation, it sounds like.
Yes.
Let's talk about, because South Korea has grown economically over the last 50 years so dramatically. Many people may not even realize how it was back then and the powerhouse that it is today. But you talk about losing face, and you talk about the way customs, the way things are done. Do you think that this chaos, this crisis, could lead to some significant structural change in Seoul and South Korea?
I think that every crisis has led to a structural change in Korea, and it's no longer the just protesting citizens. Democracy has become so accepted and expected in Korea.
Right.
And I think the economic development owes its sort of miracle progress to the democratization and then especially liberalization. So there's transparency, there accountability, all that is all said. So even though there has been political problems, these things should help, in my opinion.
Well, quickly, Young-Key, South Korea is also a tech leader, and it wants to remain that. So resolving this quickly, to what degree is its reputation on the line right now?
The reputation should be okay, but the thing is, people might be wondering, maybe it's time for diversification, and maybe we should look somewhere else instead of, taking risks because of the politics. But again, I think, for example, U.S. is trying very hard to develop semiconductors and things like that. So, but I think having sound competition is good for the world economy.
Sure.
It's when countries are closed, it really hurts them, and then others too. So the whole world actually are victims of narrow-mindedness.
Young-Key, we can't thank you enough for your analysis on this. Young-Key Kim-Renaud, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.